I've been asked to go over what I would put in a basic shoe care box. So today I'm going to go over the fundamental items that you need for a basic shoe care kit and also how to use them. So I'm going to take my trusty Geoffrey West boots that need a bit of a TLC and go through the process of using all the products. Now, I've got this box. It's a Russell and Bromley box from shoe care box from, I got it on eBay. It's a great idea to have a box just for your shoe stuff so that you're not putting random tins of polish and cloths and brushes all over the place where you can never find them. Just keep them all in the same box, and it's actually very handy. And the sort of rest on top makes it handy if somebody else is getting their shoes polished by you. So it's a very good thing to have, and keeps everything safe and in one spot. Now I've got in here loads of, and you will build your shoe care box over time with different colors of polish, different shapes, sizes, thicknesses of bristle. You get used to the things that you want. Some brushes are for cleaning dirt off, others are for achieving a high polish shine. So, but these things you will learn and you build over time. The softer the brush, the better it's going to be for shining and buffing. The harsher the bristle, the better it's going to be for cleaning. Anyway, so I've got loads of different. I've got that one. That one's for suede, very coarse bristles for suede. Horsehair, a suede eraser. These are things that, you know, as I say, you build over time and get a really good polishing cloth. We'll come to that in a little bit. However, my basic kit, I'm going to move this out of the way. My basic kit starts with saddle soap. Now I'm going to link to all these products in the description. There'll be just Amazon links so you can buy your own, but you can get these from supermarkets, get them from anywhere. Saddle soap. With the saddle soap, you're going to need some water, obviously just plain tap water, and a saddle soap applicator brush, one of these small horsehair brushes. That's for your saddle soap. Then to clean off the boots or the shoes once you've washed them, once you've cleaned them, a microfiber cloth, again widely available. Then we're going to treat the leather, condition the leather with Mink Oil. Now you may have seen, I've done previous videos, you may have seen I've used Saphir Médaille, which again includes Mink Oil, but it's very good for conditioning leather. Mink Oil is a much cheaper option, and for the starters, for the new starters in shoe care, great option, because it's very good value. And some sort of polish. Now today I'm going to be using Saphir Médaille Door shoe cream, which, if you see the color of these, this one is medium brown, and these are a light brown tan kind of color. What I would tend to do with boots or shoes is either match the color as closely as I can or go a shade darker. If you go a shade darker, you're going to hide imperfections in the leather, and you'll see what I mean when you get these little sort of darker scuff marks on the leather. If you go a shade darker with the shoe cream or the polish, then it tends to disguise the ones that you can't clean off. Anyway, once you've used your polish, you're going to need brushes, and the brushes are there to buff and polish your shoes. And I've got a variety of these. The larger and softer the brush, the better they are for general buffing, and ones like that. Shorter, coarser hair, good for general cleaning. And the last thing you're going to need is a good polishing cloth. And again, widely available. Try and get ones that are lint free, ones that don't shed cotton fibers. When you get the cotton fibers stuck in the polish or in the shoe cream, makes a right mess of your polish. Anyway, and I use disposable rubber gloves because nitrile gloves, just because polishing things irritates my hands. If you don't have sensitive skin, you can possibly dispense with these. Anyway, I'm going to pop these on and we'll get started. Right, so I'm going to move that and the Mink Oil out of the way, the polishing cloth and the brushes for now. And we'll just get started with the saddle soap. Now this saddle soap, this tin I've had for probably 3 or 4 years, something like that. It lasts for a long, long time and it's not very expensive. So it's a really good investment. Wet the applicator brush and just run it around the soap to get the lather going. And then you're just going to get started. I usually start at the toe and work my way to the heel. And you don't have to be particularly gentle with this. We're giving it a wash. I'll tell you what I have forgotten. I've forgotten my shoe trees. These are Cedar shoe trees with a spring-loaded toe and spring-loaded heel. You get them in the right size for your shoes. These are 43, 44, which is 9 or 10. And quite simply put them in. Now, the best thing to do with shoe trees is to put them in as soon as you take your shoes off. When you take your shoes off, they've still got the moisture from your feet and the leather's still warm. So if you get the shoe trees in, as soon as you've taken them off, that's going to do 2 things. It's going to push out all of the creases while the shoes are still warm and damp. Which means that they'll dry in that uncreased state. The other thing it's going to do is the cedar is porous and actually leaches the moisture from the leather into the wood and effectively dries the shoes very gently. But that's a great idea for shoe care in general. And you can see already that with the shoe trees in, the creases have been pushed out. So we're going to start again. Water, saddle soap, and as I say, from the toe, we're going to go all around the welt, clean the welt, which is the bit between the sole and the upper. Where it's creased at the front, you want to go across and go through the crease. Whatever surface you're using, I've got a disposable paper that I use for protecting the desk while I'm doing my shoe work. It's a good idea to protect whatever surface you're working on. If it's the kitchen table or your office desk, it's always a good idea to protect it. Get your microfiber cloth and just wipe off all of that excess soap. That's going to bring the soap and the surface dirt away with it. The saddle soap also has conditioners in that will help to treat the leather as well. I had a comment on an earlier video where I was doing this technique and somebody said, I've ridden horses all my life and that's not how you use saddle soap. I hate to break it to you, but this isn't a horse. I'm sorry to be rude about it, but I've no idea. I've never used these products for saddles or for horse tack in any form, so I don't know if this is the correct technique for cleaning horse tack and actual saddles and bridles and whatever else. It's for shoes. It's not for, you have to ask an equestrian for the technique for doing it for horses. Yes, I thought that was a strange comment. Please seek advice from an equestrian before using saddle soap in this manner. I don't want to irritate your horses or your delicate backside if you use this technique when you're looking after your horse gear. As you can see, boots are now clean and darker. They're darker because they're now damp. You'll also find that these products, things like Renovateur or Mink Oil, will darken the leather. It doesn't so much darken the leather, but it's restoring the moisture to the leather. It's more the fact that the leather's dried out. It's lighter because it's dry. With the moisture restored, it's more like its true colour. So all we're doing is restoring moisture to the leather. So that's why they're going to appear darker. Anyway, so Mink Oil, again, great for using. You can use your bare hands. You can use a cloth, but obviously with the gloves on, it's ideal. And you just get a good dollop of it in your hands and just rub it in, massage it into the leather. Now, depending on the shoes that you're working on, the boots that you're working on, you might find that this is where you want to stop. You might want to not bother with any sort of polish or shoe cream. The Mink Oil on its own brings out a real luster in the leather. It makes it shine, it brings the colour out, and you might find that you want to leave it there. I'll show you a comparison of the non-Mink Oiled one against the oiled one, and you'll see what I mean. But the Mink Oil has a lovely smell to it, and it just makes the leather look really, really attractive. Absolutely stunning. So that is just with the Mink Oil on. As I say, that's the comparison with and without. This one without is quite dull and a little bit lighter, and that one has, as I say, that luster to it. As I've said before, it's one of these jobs that I don't think you should want to rush. Sometimes I go a little bit faster in videos for the sake of the video, just trying to not waste your time and just show more about the technique. But when when I'm doing it for myself, when I'm doing it not on video, I tend to take my time. I tend to put some music on, or put something on TV, on Netflix or something, and just do it as I'm watching the program, or as I'm listening to the music, and use it as a bit of downtime, a bit of therapy, and because it's time that you otherwise wouldn't be doing anything. So it's nice just to, and it sounds very sort of hippie-ish and earthy, but just connect with your shoes, connect with the leather, connect with the product, and yeah, it's a nice thing to do. It's something that, if you can avoid it, you shouldn't really rush as a process. And that's the second one. Already you can see the difference in the shoes, in the boots. It's just that cleaning them with the saddle soap and the mink oil has given them a real boost. So we're going to leave those for about half an hour or so, just to let the mink oil do its thing and sink in, absorb, and do the conditioning, and then we'll have a go with the shoe cream. Okay, so that's been just over half an hour, and I can tell that the mink oil has soaked in very nicely, and that gives us a good basis for the next stage. Now what we're going to do is take a brush, a horsehair brush, and give them a buff. And again, this will give them a little bit of a shine, but what it's really doing is removing any excess mink oil that there might be, and distributing any residue across the surface of the leather, just to give us a nice even surface to work on. And there we are. So we're going to take the Médaille d'Or and you see the mid-brown colour. It's usually a lot darker in the pot than it appears when you put it on. But again, I like to, because I've got the gloved hands, I like to just go in, use my fingertips to apply it, and again it's just a very thin film. You're not slathering it on. It's always easier to put more on. You can't really very well take it off. So just take your time, and you can see the difference in the colour. It is a darker brown as I'm putting on. As I say, and that's really good for hiding any blemishes within the leather and giving it a nice uniform appearance. There are other techniques that you can do when you do have blemishes in the leather, marks and scuffs. You can take the leather, you can sand it down. You can use sandpaper, fine grit sandpaper, to sand the imperfections out of the leather, and then build the colour back up again. That's a different process. We're not going to do that today. Just going to give it a once over. This is what anybody can do the first time you try. Because using fingertips here, you can really be quite accurate about the lines that you follow and how much pressure you're putting on. You get so much more, I find you get so much more control over what you're doing by using fingertips, as opposed to a brush or a cloth. Just do the heel as well. I'm also going to go around the back of the heel block because that's lightened as well with use. The heel block on these is built up from strips of leather, so that does become scuffed and faded over time, and you'll find that usually you probably benefit from a wax for the heel block rather than the shoe cream. Shoe cream is much better for the leather for soaking in, whereas a wax polish will sit on the surface and give a better colour for the heel. Right, I'm going to leave that one, and the good thing about having the studio lights is that you can use the light, bounce the light off the surface of the leather, and you see any bits that you've missed, or you can do the same thing with a window where you've got a bright light source that you can use to reflect. But it is good just to make sure that you've got a nice even coverage on the surface. As I said before, it's something really satisfying about doing this whole process. And the last thing you want to do before you put the shoe cream away is give the shoes or the boots one final check, just to see that the colour is even across both shoes and that you've got the same consistency. You don't really want to have one brown and one tan because you've put more on one than the other, and if you do need to even it up slightly, you can always just patch in bits and make sure it's the same, but just make sure you're happy with those, and then put your shoe cream away, stop it drying out. And again, ideally you want to leave this for 20 minutes, half an hour before doing a final buff and polish. So that's been about half an hour, 35 minutes. So the next stage is going to be buffing and polishing. So to buff, we're going to use a nice big horsehair buffing brush, and you're just going to use nice big strokes across the shoe. It's really going to lock in your shine with the buff. The shoe cream contains beeswax, so that's going to help lock in the moisture into the leather. Every product that we use helps with the condition of the leather, the long-term condition of the leather. So this type that I get from Amazon, Selvyt ones, are they have a flat side, like a matte side, and a fluffy side. The flat side is the best one I've found to start off with, and again, just start off gently. If you can clamp the shoe in place, so much the better. And all the way up and down the front of the shoe, and then turn it over to the fluffy side. And so that's the end result. Cleaned, conditioned and polished, and good for another few wears. So if you like this sort of thing, please think about subscribing to the channel, and if you have any questions, fire them into the comments. I'll do my best to answer. Anyway, till next time, take care. I'll see you very soon.